All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome. This is Ending the Gaming War. I'm Stephanie Hamilton, and this is
Caroline. Welcome, everyone.
And today we're going to talk to Grant, Cason, and Phillip, Cason, father and son. And our goal here at Ending the Gaming War is to end the misunderstanding between gamers and non-gamers, and we want to learn from one another. And Karen, if you would like to, you can just subscribe to our podcast here on YouTube and any podcast platform, and we would love to hear from you. And also, if you need any help or support in communicating with your gamer, or how to set my parental controls, we can help you with that. So on our website, you just go to our website and we can sign up a time with you and we can meet with you. But today we're going to talk to Phillip and Grant, a father and son that we're looking forward to getting to know. So take it away, Miss Kara.
So Phillip, just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, anything you want, a fun fact, and about your family.
All right. Well, I have two boys, and they're both pretty much college age at this point. We're a family that is close, and I've been in IT for about 23 years. So we kind of, this is a little more awkward than I thought it was. Sorry. So we've had our kids in sports, and I grew up playing sports and things like that, but I also grew up playing games. So for me, I brought that into our home while the boys were kind of at a young age. So our family we're really close, and we have a lot of relatives around, and so this is kind of a topic that's really gone back and forth in our family, because we've had quite a few differences of opinions. Yeah. So I'm really appreciative that you have this and you're putting together a show that shows the other side, because or both sides, and balance. So
yeah, we try to bring out the positive, and that's again what my TED Talk was all about, embracing this, because there's so much good.
Yeah. And I want to draw a light that it's not all bad, that there's two extremes, and sometimes there's
right.
No. Yeah. All right, Grant, you tell us a little bit about yourself now.
All right. Well, of course, my name is Grant, and I recently graduated high school and am pursuing a career in website design. I work at Papa Murphy's right now, which is pretty awesome. But other than that, I'm just kind of relaxing, finding where my true friends are in life, and playing games with my dad.
Well, tell us about that class you're taking. What is the class that you're taking right now? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the class is an online Google course. It is a 6-month course, I think it was, and it is it's just Google running you through the basics of learning how to code HTML, and out of this course I can get a certificate leading me straight into my career, which is pretty awesome.
That's great. And are you doing it with your dad? I thought you were doing it with him.
So right now I'm just doing it on my own. My dad has not been able to start yet, but he does want me to run him through a few courses with me, kind of a thing, to show him how it goes.
Yeah, he's starting out with some of the basics of layout, getting some of that going, and then once he gets into the code part, I'll probably jump in a little bit more, and just like when he was in high school and had some courses like that, we can sit down, go through. It's nice having something common.
Yeah,
that you can.
I like that. I think it's kind of cool that you guys are doing it together. I thought that's kind of cool. So yeah.
This is awesome, you guys. So Phillip, you're in a generation that basically got to begin with video games. Yes. So is that fair to say?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, what was your first video game ever?
Oh, you probably, that really ages me, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't remember. My friend had a Commodore.
Mhm.
So of course we played some of those newspaper throwing games, some of the simple pixel games on that. But really what happened was when I was probably 6 or so, my dad bought an Atari.
Yep.
So he brought the Atari in, and I think Space Invaders was the game to play all the
Mhm.
time. So my dad would get into it. So even back then, we had a lot of family time around the gaming console. So switching back and
Oh, it's
forth.
a generational thing.
It
Good for
is.
your dad.
So we had, let's see, all sorts of gaming consoles, of course, growing up, from the Nintendo and all of the GameCube. We did stick into more of the Nintendo side of things, more than the Sega and all of those.
Mhm.
And back then, gaming was more your simple, not a lot of blood and gore, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So it didn't matter which console you had, and we did all sorts of more of the games that were either single player like Asteroids, or we jumped into some of the other games that were competitive against each other. But the most you could have back then was, I guess, 4 people.
Was it 4 on the
Some of
Nintendo?
the games,
Yeah.
yeah, but most of the time it was 2-player games.
Yeah. And what's cool, Kara, what I've been learning through Grant and Isaiah is that they're actually going back, Philip, and they're playing. And those are what's popular now is the Commodore, the Atari, the GameCube is huge right now.
Yeah.
And Nintendo NES. So it's kind of funny because COVID hit and all the gaming stopped of recreation. So they're like, well, then let's go play the old stuff, which I think is kind of cool. And I think for you, you're probably like, yeah, I own the Commodore, you know, and they're like, ooh.
Exactly.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
All right. So,
So-
what is the, go ahead, Kara.
Okay, so here's the question for you guys as a duo, father, son. What video game, and maybe Grant, you can answer this. What video game do you remember playing together with your dad first?
We kind of did some thinking back because there's been a lot that we've grown up on and playing. And like you said, we kind of started out with Nintendo based games and such like that. And the GameCube was probably like our first console. And Mario Kart was one of our favorite games on there because on Mario Kart, you were able to do this little like 2-player mode to where you're not racing against each other, but like one is driving and one's standing on the back throwing little like bananas at the people behind them. And I guess I was too little to the point where I didn't really like driving because I wasn't very good at it. But I would always stand on the back when my dad was driving and just throw the items that he would pick up along the way. And that's really what I remember as our first little game that we would play together.
That's cool.
That's adorable.
I like it. I like it. Okay. So, Philip, what do you think? What are some specific boundaries did you teach your boys about gaming and how to handle it in their own lives? Like, what, it doesn't have to be exact, but what are some things you might have set for them when they were younger?
The time management was a big part of it. And my wife and I, we talked about that quite a bit. What's enough time to where they don't feel like they're getting cheated out of something, you know. But on the other side of it, it's also, we wanted them to get outside, play. So the boys actually, you had a little like chicken timer. So my wife made it fun for them. So whenever they got into their gaming mode, then they had to run in, they could turn the egg timer, you know, the little chicken, set it down and set it for 30 minutes or something like that. And then they could run back, but they had to do that before they could start their gaming. Now, as far as the types of games, that was another topic that we felt like we had to monitor, because it wasn't like when we were little. You know, the games aren't just Mario, and now there was a lot more. So we went with the Nintendo gaming console because of that. The games are all, you know, focused and fun, and you could partner up, or there were a lot of games that you had to be patient and wait for the other person to end their turn. So we felt like there were enough learning opportunities in that type of environment that that we set those parameters before we really got started and allowing them to play too many games.
That's good. That's good.
So, Grant, this question's for you. What have you learned from your dad about gaming in particular? This is basically giving a shout out to your dad and gaming.
Yeah. A lot of what I've learned is when you're playing the game, it's not about like who's always winning and who's like doing the best. It's you do your best, and when something like doesn't go your way, like if you're playing a first person shooter game and you get shot and you die, it's not about like raging and losing and just complaining about your loss. It's really about just staying calm and just not getting mad at the game and just knowing it's a game, and you can be competitive. It's just don't get mad at the opponent for being better than you, at least in that situation, kind of a thing. And which is really important to learn growing up, because you're always going to find people that are better than you in these areas, but you can still grow to be better, which is what I always work to do when I'm playing games, kind of a thing. So
wow, that's a really cool lesson. You know, again, Stephanie and I being non-gamers, we've learned the term rage quitting. So basically you won't rage quit on other things in your life, right? Like on a future spouse, or I'm just going to rage quit, you know. It is a true lesson that you learn through gaming. I'm very, very inspired by all the lessons that you can learn through gaming. Okay.
So going off of that, what do you think, Phillip? What do you think gaming has added to your job as an IT person? Do you think there are some things that have added to your job?
Oh, definitely. That it really teaches you some critical thinking, right? So, and then sequential thinking.
Oh,
so
explain that. Give more. That's interesting. Explain that.
So we, for instance, in programming, when you're thinking about coding something and you know where your end result needs to be, and then you're starting from scratch, you have to think through all of the components, and then you have to think through the way to build those components in an order that you end up with that end result that either is a user screen, you know, it's saving things into a database, all of that. That sequential thinking, because when you play a game and you're in the gaming world, they send you through those storylines. I think of Zelda, some of the newer Destiny 2 games even, and it's almost addictive when you get in there if you are a problem solver, because it pulls you in and gives you that storyline. So you have to start from step one, learn from the things that you're listening to. So for instance, in my job, I've been an analyst, a business analyst for about 15 years. And I have to go out and I have to ask the right questions to users. So just like in Zelda, you got to go up and meet that person and listen to what they have to say in order to build that picture in your mind. And then you take it back and you perform something. So that's the same as in business.
Wow.
So there's a lot of
that's cool.
So
that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah. So how they can pick up on things like that and learn. And the other side is more tactical, right? So if you're moving around a board, that 3D imaging in your head. I work with a lot of engineers. So when they pull up their 3D models and things like that, I can easily grasp the concept. And you do kind of build it in your head as you go. And I think gaming connects you to that a lot more. So
this is so exciting. I wish everybody would listen to this right now. Speaking of that 3D, this is a perfect transition. So Grant, we're going to ask you, how has gaming helped you through some dark times? We know that dyslexia is a part of your life. So just really be real with us and tell us how gaming has actually walked you through that.
Yeah, a lot of gaming growing up has had words on the screen that I've had to follow, and I've always struggled in trying to follow along with that and read it. And one of the popular games I liked when I was growing up was a game called Animal Crossings, and I would play with my little Nana in the back, my grandma, and she would be reading me the screen when I was growing up because I couldn't read it. But the music would always put her to sleep, so whenever she couldn't read it, I would like try to figure it out at least, and just like really try to work at it. And a lot of the time growing up, it's just always been that kind of a way. So in school, I've always struggled in reading and just not wanted to read and push it aside. And then they always forced it upon us, which honestly made it to where I didn't want to read even more. But when I would get home and I would play my games, there would be those situations where I didn't have someone to read it for me, and I would go through the process of just trying to read. And it would help a lot of times whenever the games got more advanced to where the characters would actually say the words with what's on the screen. And really following along just helped me get more efficient at reading and understanding like text-based talk kind of a thing. So like books kind of a thing. It would help me in the future with that. Something I could never really get the grasp of to this day is I don't really know what it is. It's something about the dyslexia, but I can't follow a line very well. Like a lot of my reading is finger point reading and making sure I'm staying on the same line. And just a lot of things like that to where that's just why I stay away from books. But when it comes to real life situations, the words are usually big enough when I'm like going around and living my life. And in gaming, it's like something will pop up in the corner of your screen that's big enough for me to see it, and I can follow it well enough to where I can just glance over and read it quickly, which is not very common for me, but I can just read it quickly and go back to the game, and like it's natural almost. And it really helps like street signs and just all of that in my life, just being able to actually read kind of a thing.
Yeah, when he was a little bit younger.
By the way, I'm touched. So go ahead, Dad.
When he was a little younger and he was middle school age and still struggling with the reading, and we started playing games like Destiny 2 and some of those where you're running around the map. I was always the one sitting back saying, how do you know who got who and how they got them and all that? He's like, Dad, there's words on the screen down here. It shows you. And you know, I kind of squinted and you start seeing the names and things. I'm like, you can read that fast? I mean, it is flashing on the screen how fast, but they do. And I think that really has helped him. Like he said, as you're driving down the street and you see the sign. I think those of us without the dyslexia, we don't even think twice about that, but he would have struggled with that. And this gave him that transitional learning, tool to do the quick glancing at things and really build that picture. So I think that was, it's been a big help.
Yeah. Well, so my son is dyslexic, and that desire to want to read only came because of gaming and to figure out the coping mechanisms that it takes. So yeah, if there's anybody, a parent of dyslexia watching right now, please contact us, Stephanie or I, and we will walk you through that. And we want to make a difference because could you imagine, Grant, what if you didn't have gaming in this world with your dyslexia?
I honestly don't know, because a lot of my life has been that way, like just learning through it. And like when I was growing up and my mom would take us in a car ride, she would always be like, hey, read these stop signs, read the signs on the road, and just read the building names and just try to read all these things. And I was really slow at it. And I've just seen myself throughout the years get better at that. And it's part of it is definitely growing up, but a lot of it, like the efficiency part and just a lot of the well knowledge of my surroundings and just being able to like catch something and be able to just read it like quickly while I'm driving is a lot of gaming in my, like, from what I can say is gaming because of my reflexes to be able to look at something. So,
Yeah,
and
you
I,
take a
I
quick
just do not
picture
know.
because dyslexics think in pictures. So you take a picture of that thing that you read. It's more a picture based. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Well,
Well, Stephanie gets to bring it home.
Well, I wanted to talk about, like, we were talking before we recorded about the 3D model and how dyslexia can see in 3D. And so that's why we talked about that. And also, Grant, does your 3D visual help you with your Smash tournaments and your characters fighting?
Very
Yeah.
much. That is actually a really big thing in what I do. Isaiah tells me that he actually doesn't do what I do, but whenever I play the game like Smash competitively, I am visualizing what my opponent's going to do before they do it and all of the options that they could do. And I try to go for the best option of what I think when I'm in tournament. And it's really cool because I can visualize that. And when I try to explain that to Isaiah, it's just like mind blowing to
He's like,
even
what?
think that that's even happening, which is
Yeah.
cool to think, but
It's like seeing into the future.
yeah.
And my son plays with Grant. And what I love about the Smash characters is each character is different. And there's like a multiple of many characters, and each character has their own fighting combinations. So you have to, like, actually, know which characters do which. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you guys wish that other parents knew about, what other non-gaming parents knew about gaming? What are some things? A few things.
Do you have anything?
I mean, I can start out with something if you got something after. It's not a really big thing, but I was kind of thinking about this, and something really important that I think a lot of parents need to learn if they're frustrated with their kids playing games and frustrated that they won't get off the games, especially if they're playing like on an Xbox, PC, or anything like
Right.
of the sorts of console. When it comes to playing those games, a lot of the time it's our way of communicating and conversating with our friends and everyone around us. And whenever your parent comes into the room and demands you go downstairs and you tell them they're online and you can't pause the game, it's like they don't really take that seriously sometimes, and they think that you can just get off. It's like, other people are depending on me right now, and I need to finish this, and I can get off the game whenever this game is done, which should only be about 10 minutes or so, and I can be done. So
Yeah, we've
That's
had
a-
those stories
that's a
too,
big thing.
where mom came in and turned off the game. I wanted you to do this right now.
Yep.
And I would say to those parents, that's exactly what he was explaining with the dependability with your friends, the
Right.
responsibility, feeling devoted to that social grouping. That's something different than what we had when we were playing games when
Yep.
we were younger. We didn't have that social side besides the person sitting next to us.
Yeah.
So with gaming today, it is a lot of online. As a parent, of course, I would say there are settings in there to say who you can allow your kids to connect with, that there has to be a parent approval. For instance, with the Xbox, they would send a friend an invite, and then I would have to approve it before they made that connection.
Okay.
When they were younger, where now it's, you can open it up, and they've been through that age, where they are now. But as parents, I think we need to, those limits, we're working with them, right? We're listening to them, we're building guidelines, but then we also have this understanding and teaching them to be adults, right? It can be a great tool for that, where you give them, okay, you said 10 minutes, and then it doesn't mean you can start another game in 10 minutes. Because we know how that goes too.
Yep. I do. Yep. I'm like, when this game ends, then you need to, quit.
Exactly.
Okay. So I have loved this conversation because it gave us a different perspective, Kara. Like some of when you talked about critical thinking, sequential thinking, because we've had a lot of people who talk about how gaming helps them work together as a team. And we've talked a lot about that in our past podcasts, but what I loved is you added a totally different aspect of your helping your job in making that sequential connection. And I like that. that has actually been really helpful to me in understanding a totally different perspective. So thank you so much for bringing that, Phillip. How about you, Kara?
All right. Well, I just want to thank you both as well. And the dyslexia connection has been so amazing and eye-opening. And really, you're our first father-son duo that we've ever had. And just, man, I really thank you, Phillip, for encouraging other parents. I know that this is and means a lifetime of memories as well for you two together. And you can give a shout out to your dad for starting that beautiful generational
That's right.
yeah, connection.
Passing down those, and it really, like we've said, it's like we connect with esports just like we do with regular sports.
Right.
And having that connection and being able to go to his games and his competitions with him and Isaiah, it's just a different sport to go and enjoy with your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and cheer them on. It's been fun. I enjoyed it. Went one time. Yes. And I was thinking, go ahead.
Yeah, we got to
Kara.
close down shop. And so this has been Ending the Gaming War. Stephanie, can you remind everybody how to subscribe?
Yeah, you can get us on YouTube on our channel. And then we also have a podcast platform. On any podcast platform you can get to us. Our website is endingthegamingwar.org/public_HTML. So come reach out to us if you want to connect with us, listen to us, and reach out to us. We would love to hear you from you.
Okay. And did you have one more thing to say, Stephanie? No. Okay.
Oh, well, but never mind. Go ahead. We'll close it.
You're going to leave our listeners in suspense.
I guess so what I wanted to say was, just like on a football game, where kids just go out to the backyard and play a set up football game. We're not going to tell them to come in the middle of the game. Yeah. We're going to let them finish the game with their friends and say, okay, come in after the second touchdown or something like that, where you're not going to going back to what Grant said about waiting. We're not going to tell them to run in the middle of their game if it's a pickup game of football. That's all. I just thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's a good connection.
Literally everything we're talking about was in my TED talk. So you guys our listeners, and you guys should listen to it again. All right, folks. So I'm excited that you were here. We're signing off for a whole nother episode, and we do appreciate you guys being here and ending the gaming war. Bye, everybody.